It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today is David Ferraris, Communications Manager at the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy. And thank you for joining me today, David.
Thanks for having me.
So the Conservancy is located, your office is in Easton, yes?
Correct. We are in an old brownfield that was converted from it was called the McCord Laundry Building.
Well, how cool is that?
Yeah. So it was there for decades, and then it wasn't being used for decades, and it was just falling apart. So we have a program or a division within the Land Conservancy called Center for Towns. So what we do is go in and promote revitalization of these buildings that aren't being used. Long story short, it's now our headquarters, and we share it with regional offices for the Nature Conservancy, Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and the Town Creek Foundation. So we have environmental partners right there in the building, but we own the building.
That is and so you help others do this with buildings that might be falling apart, not yet falling apart, but... Yeah,
we are all about smart growth, and part of being a land conservancy, some people think, oh, you're a land conservancy, what are you doing?
I automatically with the easements, like you're just getting people to turn over...
Exactly, and that's how the organization started in 1990, was strictly putting conservation easements on lands on the Eastern Shore. But as things have progressed, we sort of saw a need to get involved in our small rural towns also. Instead of continuing to build out and take up prime agricultural land, building, what we consider urban sprawl, we say, why don't you just reuse some of the buildings that aren't being used in town?
Sustainability
and getting people to invest in buildings and businesses that are walkable, that promote sort of green practices. And that's what we did in Easton. So now it's called the Eastern Shore Conservation Center. It's right on Washington Street across from the Easton Hospital.
Well, I'm going to have to go take a look at it soon. So what other projects, now that we're on this topic, because this is so cool, what other buildings have you done?
So right now, our main project is the old Phillips Cannery building in Cambridge. It's a 60,000 square foot factory. It was called Factory F back in the day. This is the last standing building of the Phillips Packing Company empire that was in Cambridge. They were canning things. They were actually the biggest supplier of K-rations for our troops in World War II.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a really cool historical story about Phillips. Anyway, this building kind of sat vacant for years, much like the Conservation Center. And they were going to tear it down. And then we started talking with a group that we worked with on our building in Baltimore called Cross Street Partners. And they specialize in going and rehabbing these buildings and creating a mixed-use space for entrepreneurs and what have you. So they came in, they actually purchased the building, and with our help brokering it and trying to find lead tenants for the space, we are in the process of getting grants, and we just got a historic tax credit from the state for $3 million. It was the largest in the state. And we're trying to secure the tenants so that we could begin phase one of the revitalization project.
This is amazing to me. I just had no idea. So it's, the aha moment is you're a nonprofit, the organization.
Correct, 501c3 nonprofit.
Are there any other nonprofits like this doing this kind of work in the state that you know of?
There are. I'm honestly and we do partner with other groups on environmental stuff. But in terms of going into towns and doing rehab, I know Preservation Maryland is a group that we work with who does great stuff. They were actually at our last event. We had Senator Cardin tour what we were calling the packing house now, the Phillips building. So he came in. We're getting lots of support from politicians and local representatives, the mayor of Cambridge, the town council, the county council. All those people were there, and they're all on board. It's a fantastic project. We're going to reuse or remake this into what we're calling a food and farming exchange. So we want to take this space and create sort of like Union Market.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's going to be this entrepreneurial space where it's basically like a year-long farmer's market. There's a space for a microbrewery. There's a space for a wine bar. We're looking at having an oyster aquaculture company in there and having an oyster bar. There'll be upstairs, there'll be office space.
And when do you foresee this opening? Because I just want to go there right now.
Right now. Thank goodness it's within driving distance to Easton, so I picture myself going there every Saturday and getting my meat from the butcher, getting my produce from my favorite farmer, and then going, into the brewery for a pint. It's fantastic.
I mean, I have this vision of our Annapolis Market House downtown, which has had its share of trouble, to be turned into something like this.
Yeah, so right now it's slated for opening in 2018 third quarter.
All right, well, I'll be there.
Next fall.
Can I have an invitation for opening day?
Absolutely.
Right,
you guys can broadcast live from there if you want.
I would love it. All right, well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, more about what the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy is doing. This is Donna Cole, the 1430 Connection. We will be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today is David Ferraris. He's communications manager at the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy. And they're not just about easements. They are about, right now, taking old buildings and revitalizing them for these incredible adaptive uses. One of which you're working on is the packing house.
Correct, in Cambridge. And so tell me how the process works. If somebody is listening to this in Stevensville, in Centerville, in wherever on the Eastern Shore, they see a building, they have this vision, what happens? So ESLC identifies these buildings, or someone brings it to our attention, and we say, this has to be in town limits. Ideally something that everyone can walk to or get to easily, not sort of somewhere, building something new that's going to create more traffic and urban sprawl.
Right.
So we take these buildings and we say, all right, well, what could this be used for? What do people really want or need here to get people excited about their community and their town? And we partner with a group who is willing to put some money up and purchase the building. ESLC we didn't purchase the packing house, but Cross Street Partners does. So they have the funding to do that. We come in and come up with a plan with them for what the adaptive use is going to be. And we go from there. And it's all about getting tax credits and getting people on board and contributing money towards it. And the packing house isn't a done deal yet. We have until June to get our lead tenants in there and get a contract, and also come up with some more money to begin phase one of the development.
Right. Okay. So what's next on the radar? And I want to know about it before anyone else knows about it.
Sure. Well,
there must be a building in Easton that you found nearby you, or a building in Centerville, or any other. Come on.
I wish I could give you some breaking news, but we're so involved with the packing house at this point, and it's not. Like I said, it's not a done deal yet.
Okay.
So we're talking with Chesapeake College and University of Maryland as being potential lead tenants, and they can have a satellite campus there.
I love
of sorts. There's going to be a kitchen incubator in the packing house, so people with small catering businesses can come in and use this huge commercial kitchen and produce their stuff, clean up, and leave for a minimal price. So it's really. The people are going to get a lot out of it. Okay,
tell me, you're going over the bridge into Cambridge. Where does this?
Yep.
Where is
you
this?
You get over the bridge, you make a right. You know where that Wawa is, as the road sort of curves?
I know where the hospital is.
I think it's Washington Street.
Yeah,
okay. You make a right on Washington, and you make your first right again, and it's on Dorchester Avenue.
It's on the water?
No, it is not on the water, but it is considered a downtown.
Okay.
And if you've ever seen the smokestacks from Route 50, there's 2 smokestacks going up that are... Everyone in Cambridge knows them.
Okay.
And if you're going to or from the beach, you see the smokestacks.
Right.
Those are the smokestacks of the Phillips Packing Company of this building.
That's so cool.
And they're sort of an icon, and that's actually what we're trying to raise money for right now. Is the stabilization of the smokestacks is the part of phase 1 of the revitalization of the building, which is $200,000. So we're trying to raise money right now to help fund that.
Okay, and for listeners that are listening to this,
yes,
where do they send their money?
They would go to eslc.org.
Slow down.
ESLC.org.
Eastern Shore Land Conservancy.
Correct. That's our acronym.
Okay.
And then from there, we have a crowdsourcing fundraising page on razoo.com, so they could just go to our website and then go from there.
Okay. Now let's go back to the easements.
Okay.
Because that is a big part of a land conservancy. Yours, yes?
Yes, and it's still a part of what we do.
You're conserving land. So tell everybody what an easement is.
Okay, an easement, I will give you the very layman's terms. It actually is it's a complicated real estate transaction. The best way I can explain it to someone who has no idea what a conservation easement is we work with a landowner to put their land in an easement, which transfers with ownership. It's good forever. The person who is doing it gets a tax break, which is why some people do it for that. Some people do it for they don't want anything built on it ever. Right. Some people do it for both reasons. And to this date, we've been a part of 58,000 acres being conserved on the Eastern Shore.
So the land is going into an easement saying you can never build on this land. This will remain exactly as it is.
And each easement's a little different in terms of, there already may be a main house on the structure. A lot of them are farms, and then the family may say, well, at some point we want to have another house right here for my grandkids or something. Right. And those things are ironed out during the legal process of setting up the easement. But
let's come back. Let's take a short break and explain why this is so important for the entire Eastern Shore and everywhere else for that matter.
Correct.
This is Donna Cole. This is the 1430 Connection. We will be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today is David Ferraris. He's the communications manager at the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy. We're talking about conservation easements. The reason why this is so important on the Eastern Shore, particularly, it's important everywhere, is making sure the land that we have that's open space, whether it's farms, whether it's parks, whatever, natural area, stays open, is because theoretically 20 years down the road it could be covered by parking lots, grocery stores, townhouses, schools, what have you, all of which are important, but we need that open space too, and it's organizations like yours that safeguards it.
Correct.
Eastern Shore particularly, you're seeing farms now that people, successive generations, can no longer maintain or don't want to maintain. So that's a big part of why you do what you do, yes?
Yes, it is. And then putting an eastment on those lands and providing the tax break, tax credit for those families is one way that they can preserve their land and stay on the land. The Eastern Shore, as you are aware, is prime agricultural land. So we work our best to try to save it and preserve it. Right now, I think the last number I heard was about 23% of the Eastern Shore is in some sort of protection, the land.
Right.
Which is why, at some point, hopefully we will run out of space to actually put an easement on, which is why as a conservancy we've branched out into doing towns work. We also do stuff with climate change, education, environmental education. So we're not just sort of a one-stop shop for conservation easements. We have our hands in a few different things.
Well, let's go back to the easements though. Say there's a farmer that doesn't have kids. Kids don't want any part in the farm. They've moved to Chicago. Has this farm, doesn't want to see it go to a developer.
Development, yeah.
They can sell it for a couple $1 million and with no restrictions attached.
Correct.
Or how can you help with the financial part of that?
Well, they may not get as much, but they will get money from our organization, or we can help broker a deal through DNR, who does have, access to more funding than we do, and actually acquire the land, so that the farmer will get money, will get the tax credit, get to stay on the land, and then also, know that it's never going to be developed on.
So don't think that this is just a benevolent thing. You can actually make a profit off the land that you purchased.
Yes. Absolutely.
100 years back.
They have special people who come in and actually, put a value on it, and that all of that goes through the IRS. It's a very strict legal process, and it takes a while to get one done, but it's well worth the effort.
It's well worth the effort. Why?
So that land ends up being preserved, and we don't see McMansions on it.
Okay. All right.
Or communities that weren't very well thought out.
Right.
Yeah. I will note that since you kind of alluded to the fact that some of these farmers want to stay on their land but may not be able to afford to, what we're seeing a lot of right now on the Eastern Shore is land that is relatively cheap in the eyes of some of the renewable energy companies that are coming in from other parts of the country. We've had some things that we've gotten involved with, particularly in Kent County. There was a company, Mills Branch, wanted to come in.
We're talking about wind and solar energy.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. So right now, it's a hot topic is companies coming in that are not Eastern Shore, even Eastern Shore based, coming in wanting to buy up land relatively cheap and create solar farms and wind turbine farms. This is an area that, on one hand, ESLC is committed to. We believe in, the science behind climate change. We believe in renewable energy, but so we're walking a fine line between wanting to be, pro renewable energy, but we also don't want to see prime agricultural land turn into solar farms, particularly that takes up a lot of space. We think their solar farms are great, but they should be on land that it doesn't consist of this high agricultural soil.
In other words, like Chesapeake College has done with their...
Correct. So we're trying to work with different people in terms of getting that message out.
Okay. All right. Very good. David, again, what's the website?
Our website is eslc.org, and from there you can find out more information about our environmental education programs, our town's work, our land conservation easements, as well as a link to the Packing House crowdsourcing site, which is on razoo.com.
Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us for the 1430 Connection. If you missed a part or want to catch more or listen to it again, it is on the on-demand section of our website at 1430wnav.com. You can also find it on our WNAV News, YouTube, and as always, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at 1430 WNAV. We'll see you next week.